This saying is no more true than in Destiny, where people have been soloing content since the dawn of time. From infamous cheese spots with a little bit of luck, to just outright foolhardiness face tanking everything the game can throw at you and still coming out victorious. And this is all thanks to the seemingly endless possibilities offered to you by the deep, varied and now new build crafting system. Going solo can be a daunting experience for some, but it can also offer the greatest sense of accomplishment that Destiny 2 can provide. Whether it's a sweet solo flawless emblem or just the bragging rights of being the first to solo flawless an entire raid, the following 3 builds here are the pinnacle of build crafting used by some of the best players in the game, and ultimately they can easily give you the ability to become legend. The Sunbreaker Solar Titan meta seems to be a lifetime ago, but it wasn't just a flash in the pan. There's literally nothing more dangerous than a Titan, and when one simply becomes unkillable, it's time to start worrying. Except it's not you that'll be doing the worrying, it'll be all of your enemies as you methodically steamroll through them, one well-timed bonk after bonk. This Solar 3.0 Titan build has everything, from unlimited survivability thanks to a bunch of aspects, fragments and abilities, all whilst offering excellent damage output from your melee, weapons and scorch ability. The Laurel Splendor Helm is where this one all starts, as it just offers absolutely perfect synergy within this solo subclass setup, and it's what really makes this build insane for solo content. Cauterizing Flame will create a sunspot at your location when you're either critically wounded or when you cast your barricade. This sunspot fits directly into the Sol Invictus aspect, and it has a number of bonuses that activate when you enter or pass through one. It will rapidly recharge your abilities, apply Scorch to enemies nearby, allow you to throw your super hammers faster, but most importantly, it will grant you restoration. Solar Restoration is one of the strongest endgame ready abilities in the entire game, as it will continuously recover your health for the duration, which is set at 40 HP per second. This healing effect can't be interrupted, and the beauty is that you can indefinitely keep Restoration's timer topped up by either chucking a healing grenade to refresh it, re-entering a sunspot, or more effectively with the Ember of Empyrean. This top tier solar fragment is going to extend both Restoration and Radiant on any final blow with a solar ability or solar weapon. It allows you to stay right in the mixer, face tanking damage whilst dishing out plenty of punishment. The punishment comes in the form of Radiant, which will grant you a massive 25% weapon damage buff. This applies to any and all weapons, but to become Radiant in this setup, you'll specifically need the Ember of Torches. By simply using your charged melee attack, you'll become Radiant, and because of the subclass setup you've already got, it will be near on infinitely available, and that's all thanks to the ever faithful throwing hammers. Chasing down your errant throwing hammers will become the bane of your life, but you'll absolutely want to be hunting it down, because every time you collect it, not only does it instantly refill your melee ability, but it will cure you as well. Cure is just the icing on top of the restoration cake, as it will grant you a flat 60 HP, and this is on top of any healing effects that you already have going. This cycle will allow you to take out trash adds with ease, especially if you set up your melee keybinds just shown like this. By setting it up this way, you'll be able to be on top of enemies without just punching them, and will always use your charged melee ability regardless. But it's not just trash adds that'll be withering with the constant pressure, it's all manner of champions. Being Radiant will allow you to pierce barrier champion shields with pretty much any weapon, and if you have a certain raid exotic, you can even chain ridiculous combos like this to just straight up tease champions whilst bonking them to death. Unstoppable champions are also at your mercy here, because you can stun them with ignitions. It's a little bit trickier with this setup, as it's aimed at surviving over anything else, but if you apply enough scorch stacks through your stun spots combined with the Ember of Ashes, it may just be enough. But this whole setup has built you up to go to Horny Jail by bonking everything into next week with the Roaring Flames aspect. This stacks up to 3 times on ability final blows, and will give you a 73% ability damage increase of 3 times stack. This bonus throwing hammer damage in combination with the maximum healing capabilities will set you straight to deal with every single red, orange and even yellow bar enemy in the game, with it ultimately just leaving you plenty of time to think about the most important thing for any solo encounter, of how to beat the mechanics and defeat the boss. This then all boils down to your weapon synergies, with the brand new Paracausal Affinity perk from the Root of Nightmares raid working wonders in this setup, as it'll pretty much constantly have its 20% damage buff active. But the big winner here more often than not is the Callous Mini Tool. Any incandescent weapon will work a treat though, as it fits perfectly in with your aspects and fragments to keep this all ticking over smoothly. As for mods and stats, you'll really want to lean into Resilience, as this will get you your barricade back quicker, and paired with the Ember of Singeing, this is going to keep you you alive thanks to Lorelee in any squeaky bum time moments. Always run resistant mods on your chest armor relevant to the encounters that you're facing, and combine your Cypher mods to create orbs of power to both boost your weapon damage output with surge mods and grant grenade energy with grenade kickstart. Before you know it, you'll be mastering one of the strongest Titan builds in the entire game and tackling the most difficult of solo content. All of these builds are about being steady, consistent and measured in your approach to whatever lays in front of you, especially when playing solo, and this is none truer than with this Void Walker setup. It is arguably the most reliable build out of all of these two because it quite simply has everything. With maximum damage output, infinite healing, abilities on tap, and once you put this shit on, you should never really take it off. Devour is the central focus of this Void Warlock setup, not the exotics, not the fragments, nothing, because without Devour this build crumbles and you won't beat anything. The dark arts of Devour have been known by all good Warlocks and some bad ones too since the dawn of time, and not just because of the full health regen it grants on a final blow from any source. Unlike Solar Restoration, this isn't tied to weapons or abilities matching your subclass type, and so the world is your oyster. Osteostrigger is a solo player's wet dream because of its fire and forget nature. Building up stacks of toxic overload on any enemy and spreading poison to nearby enemies is going to rapidly defeat waves of adds and keep your Devour timer topped up to the maximum. Void weapons though do have perfect synergy with this build, and you'll want your favourites in the energy and heavy slot. Any destabilising rounds or repulsor brace energy weapon will do bits, especially one with both. But repulsor brace is arguably the best bet here because it will give you that bonus survivability in the trenches. It will give you a void overshield for a short duration on defeating void debuff targets, and this will stack with Devour. And as for your heavy weapon, a Void Machine Gun is the way. Spending time to farm for a God Roll commemoration will be worth its weight in gold. No matter what you do end up chasing though, both of your Void weapons are key to this build and will ultimately benefit from the Echo of Instability. This is going to grant your Void weapons volatile rounds from grenade final blows and will allow you to deal tons of bonus Void explosive damage in a large area to your enemies. These kills whilst Devour is active will also grant you grenade energy, and you'll simply be activating Devour through final blows from your Void abilities using the Feed the Void aspect. The synergy here has always been next level with Void Warlocks, and these grenades now have the added bonus of being able to apply a 15% weaken debuff to targets with the Echo of Undermining. You should only really be using the Vortex grenade for maximum destruction, as you can make it last longer with the Echo of Remnants fragment. But that's not all, because the Chaos Accelerant aspect also feeds into this gem of a setup, as it'll increase the size of the Vortex grenade and extend its duration. And then, if that wasn't enough, the incredibly powerful Contraverse holds come into play to top off this build. These Forsaken Era exotic gauntlets are the true superstars of this Solo Warlock build, and this is because they amplify and combine all of what you've put together already and allow you to go to Pound Town from relative safety in pretty much any encounter, chucking void nuclear bombs on anything. With the Chaotic Exchanger exotic perk, it'll grant you some damage resistance whilst charging your Vortex grenades, and then these overcharged void grenades will return grenade energy to you on causing damage. These void grenades are absolutely massive, so you can't really miss, with each tidbit of tick damage returning a small portion of grenade energy to you, all whilst you sit back and relax. As these void grenades will be weakening targets too, they'll die quicker, activating Devour and volatile rounds in the process. Then with any that don't die, you'll be able to pick off any with your weapons, giving you more grenade energy back from Devour to then rinse and repeat. You can then add in mods like Grenade Kickstart for more grenade energy straight off the bat, and Void Weapon Surge mod for a 22% weapon damage boost, as well as Void Siphon to create orbs of power. The pros who run this build to solo everything like to use Void Reloader mods to minimise weapon downtime and bolstering detonation to keep your healing rift topped up, as well as triple bomber should you get out of sync. Ashes to Assets will give you chunks of super energy so that you can Nova Bomb the big bads, which will also trigger Devour to start the whole cycle again. A high resilience stat is always a must for the maximum damage reduction it offers, and then you'll want to aim for either recovery or discipline, but these absolutely aren't required to be honest. You'll be terrorising solo legend lost sectors, nightfalls and dungeons like Esoteric in no time, wondering why you didn't try this sooner. Now this one, in my opinion, is the creme de la creme of builds in Destiny 2, and it's easily one of my favourite all-time builds in Destiny history. It really is one of the strongest Titan builds in the entire game, a build that shows off the true punching prowess of Titans and what every budding Titan should be striving towards. What the f***? This is a hunter build? Holy sh**. This really is the one hunter build that can and will allow you to solo flawless every single dungeon as long as you have a bit of patience and time. The deadly combination of causing infinite back-to-back and devastatingly powerful jolting melee attacks along with the on-demand health regeneration and invisibility will allow you to easily manage the flow of any encounter and take you back into the mindset of just being able to concentrate on beating the mechanics to succeed. Combination blow is where this one all starts, as it can ramp up the damage of your melee attacks massively by 60% per stack up to 3 stacks. You get a 20-second timer for this, which in most cases is plenty of time for you to just keep going or just to reposition and get out of trouble to go again. Combine this with the destructive power offered by a 1-2 punch shotgun and you'll further increase the damage caused by your melee attacks, even stun locking enemies in most situations. Defeating any enemy with this attack will fully recharge your dodge ability, and you can already feel the synergy electrifying this immense build. And that's because the lethal current aspect turns the dial of your combination blow melee all the way up to 11. Lethal current will increase your melee lunge distance, but more importantly it'll jolt targets and create a damaging aftershock. You can also blind jolted enemies by attacking them with a melee attack, allowing you to deal with and stun a range of champions in any tier of content. Then, as long as you have the Gambler's Dodge equipped on your class ability, you'll be able to have infinite uptime of both your melee and dodge abilities. The whole playstyle of dodge, punch, dodge is really as simple as it gets, and on top of this you'll be constantly amplified too. Being amplified massively increases your movement speed through the speed booster perk, as well as giving you a class ability regen boost and increasing weapon handling speed. It's night and day how much of a difference this makes, and once you get used to it you'll feel like Quicksilver as everything slows down around you whilst you rapidly destroy everything in sight. Flow state will keep you in this amplified form, as everything you defeat will be jolted from one source or another, whether that's your melee attack, your pulse grenades combined with the spark of shock, or even from enemies who got a bit too close to you with the brand new spark of instinct equipped. You'll be defeating enemies left and right rapidly by default, and with us being in the Orb of Power meta at the moment, the Spark of Amplitude makes perfect sense to create a constant supply chain of orbs to feast on. This brings into play the Weapon Surge mod for a 22% increase in weapon damage, which you can use to power up your favourite 1-2 punch shotgun or your heavy weapon of choice. The Lament Exotic Sword is also a must have in this setup, especially as the Revved Consumption exotic perk will heal you whilst dishing out some excellent high burst damage. Galahorn also can't be overlooked here, because even though it's not technically the best for damage output, it just has that ease of use aspect perfect for a multitude of encounters. You can then factor in any relevant weapons, whether a pulse to play at distance or an SMG or sidearm for closer combat, adding in any anti-champion capabilities where required. You'll also be able to double up on orb creation through the heavy-handed mod, and you'll even feed yourself tons of bonus energy for your Gathering Storm super from the hands-on mod. As you will be in the trenches, the Spark of Resistance along with a high resilience stat setup are going to give you insane damage resistance when up close and personal, but ultimately it all boils down to the awesome synergy this build all offers with the Assassin's Cowl exotic helmet. It used to be a meme, but it's always been the best hunter exotic since it came out in Shadowkeep, and with this Arcstrider build it truly is in a league of its own. Nothing else can quite achieve the level of power this exotic offers whilst making it look all too easy. All of your powered melee final blows will grant invisibility and restore a portion of your health, with finishers and higher health enemies increasing the duration of invisibility and the health restored. This exotic just gives you the ultimate flexibility to do what you want in any encounter and will ultimately buy you the breathing room to just crack on with it. Bomber mods will then help with grenade cooldowns, and the Gathering Storm super is the final piece of this arc puzzle, as it's still one of the best damage supers out there, perfect for boss damage phases or to even use as a panic super. All titans are jealous of the insanity offered from this endgame Arcstrider kit, but now you're ready to literally speedrun the toughest and most daunting endgame content available. All three of these builds showcase the true potential of your Guardian, and with just a little bit of time to practice the playstyle these offer, you'll be able to push yourself to solo more high level content and maybe open the door to an endgame you never thought you were capable of achieving. All of the Destiny Item Manager build links for these are down in the description for you to copy, and feel free to subscribe to the channel if you found this content helpful. But we've really just scratched the surface of what you can use to solo anything in Destiny 2. Solo raids might not yet be on your radar, but grab a fire team to farm for this raid exotic, which has just catapulted to S tier. Find out why by watching this next video.